Hello, I'm Monica Price and welcome to Cuppa TV. On today's show we're looking at mental health in young people and I'm joined by John Rushton, our emotions expert, Paul Ebury, who's Managing Director of Hampton Health and Fitness Club, Sheila McMahon, who's a psychotherapist, and Carol Grant from the charity Cameron Grant Memorial Fund. Health in the young is a serious issue and recent statistics have shown a rise in our young people. It has been stated that suicide is now the biggest killer of young men in Britain, claiming the lives on average of 3 young men a day. We should be discussing, are the government doing enough to help, or are the councils having their budgets cut in mental health, and what is the impact on families and people around them? Thank you guys for joining me. So we've got Carol, John and Sheila and Paul. Thank you so much. So, I mean, this is a serious issue. And Carol, if I may I start with you? And if you would like just to tell us your story and how you got to make Cameron's charity.
Yeah, my son Cameron died 6 months ago. He took his own life. No one knew he had depression. But, yeah, so he took his own life.
And from that you've set up this amazing charity
called
Cameron's Fund. Is it Cameron's Grant Memorial Fund?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
We didn't know anything about depression or suicide, and since he's died we've been quite shocked at the number of kids that are committing suicide. So we've really wanted to raise awareness of young suicide and to get kids to seek help and talk, which Cameron didn't do.
I mean, John, I'm going to bring you in here as emotions expert. Would you agree? Is it young men just don't speak and young women do, or is it? Have you got any sort of thoughts on that?
It's true they don't speak. Just purely by chance, last week I was walking the streets of London with a colleague of mine, Chris, who's 22. We're interviewing people on mental health, their views, their thoughts, their feelings, loneliness and happiness or unhappiness. And everybody wanted to say something, and the fact was that despite the fact they wanted to say something, it has to be a specific person, there has to be an empathy. It's all right having hotlines, helplines, whatever, but who's at the end? And that's what really concerns them. Is it some robot who's just so used to speaking to people like that? Is it somebody? And you can't say to your parents, you can't speak to your best friend, you love your parents, so you don't tell them because you don't want to upset them.
That's
so,
true, yeah.
So did you find that, Carol?
Yes, I think that's the reason Cameron did.
Yes, it is. That's a very big thing. So you don't want to upset them, probably needlessly in their eyes, but you don't. Your best mate or your girlfriend, you love them, but they won't understand because you know them, and there's just not that level of understanding. So you want to speak to somebody who can have this empathy with you. Where is that person?
Yes.
And that is the $64,000 question. Where do you find that person? Because once you actually get them to talk, it's like the pressure cooker.
Yes,
The pressure has gone down somewhat. Maybe the problem hasn't been solved, but the pressure's gone down and you feel, because you've physically spoken it, it's not just going round and round like an endless loop in your mind. It's come out. And therefore you feel, I've actually spoken about it.
Almost sense of relief that
yes,
you
yes,
think
exactly.
It's a very lonely disease, isn't it?
It is. It's very isolating.
And if only people talked, they'd realise just how many other kids are suffering as well.
And like you said of your son, he was full of beans.
Yeah.
And that's the facade. Oh, they're all right. But you don't know.
No.
It's the Hollywood facade.
We've spoken about that before. People's outer persona isn't always necessarily what's going on inside. Let's bring you in here, Sheila, because you're a psychotherapist.
Therapist, that's right.
So tell us about what you do and what your experience is.
Yeah, so I very much deal with people who are going through depression, and I've been through depression myself. And it's interesting what you said about the outward appearance, because I know you're going to mention about having a book, but what's interesting is that is from people that would know me but not know me really well would think, oh, joke is Sheila, she's always up for laugh, Irish, bit of crack. You know, they'd never ever guess for a second that I've had depression for the majority of my life. But the difference is that I manage it very well and I understand where it comes from.
Yes.
And that's all through talking and understanding. And you were saying, John, about finding the right people, that I'm delighted to say there's loads of fantastic people there to help. Loads. It's finding them and the right sort of help.
I was going to say, because somebody's help for one person might not always be the right help for another
Exactly,
person.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And Paul, let's bring you in here because you're from the gym. You're the managing director of the Health Fitness Club. So, is it important, Paul? Would you say to have a good diet, a good exercise regime, particularly in the young?
Most certainly, yeah. I mean, all of the research points that staying active and whether it's going to the gym, that's only one opportunity.
Yes.
People can play sports, and that's great for the young because that gets them all being in a social environment and interacting, making friends, and that can bring down the pressure.
Actually, that's a good point there,
Yeah.
social interaction, because the children now are so much, just on their computers
yes.
and heads
It's very
down all the
isolated.
time.
It's
Very
me
isolated,
texting you and
isn't
you
it?
texting
Yes,
me, but we
that's
never
it.
talk.
Yes,
Yeah.
whereas,
I think children or kids just don't know how to talk as well as
That's
they
a
used
problem,
to.
yes, yes.
And also on Facebook, you're seeing what you think are happy kids all the time, and you may not be feeling happy,
Yeah.
and it
No, it's
must
just
be
a snapshot, isn't it?
quite
Yes.
hard.
The problem
Yeah.
with Facebook as well is that people are often trying to paint a nicer picture
Yes.
of themselves, their own lives,
Yeah.
and sometimes
Yeah.
as kids you might be looking at other people's Facebooks thinking, why haven't I got these?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, it is.
Did you find, Carol, obviously, it was devastating for both you and your husband and your son as well.
Yeah.
Did you find that when it happened, how did it make you feel? Were you questioning what you did, what you saw?
Yeah, well, when we first heard, I thought they'd got the wrong boy. I thought someone had stolen Cameron's ID. I couldn't believe that it was Cameron, because it was such a shock and we just had no idea. And you do, you think, well, was there any sign that I should have seen? But, I mean, we were very close family and I used to speak to him about 3 times a week maybe at uni. He was away at uni when it happened. But no, looking back, I still can't see any signs. And even his friends.
So his
No
best
one-
friends, people he
He'd
was
been
around.
sharing a house with the same boys for a year and a half, and they had no idea.
No idea.
I mean, he was still out socialising and doing his frisbee training a couple of days before he died, and buying concert tickets. So
So there was
one had any
no
idea.
indication. I mean,
Yeah.
that is really, it's quite scary, isn't it? How,
Yeah.
people can hide. But, John, is that quite normal? Can people just hide their, really bury their feelings
Yes.
so deep that not even their closest friends or family can reach them?
When there's something wrong, you can be a marvellous thespian. You can put on a facade to the world. And it's very easy to do because you live in this dual persona. You have this front, this Hollywood facade, like Hollywood
It's
facade,
like
you
Hollywood
open the
facade,
door
yes.
and there's weeds and scaffolding behind. It's only a facade. But you get to live like this. It's almost a schizophrenic type of existence.
Cameron actually wrote in the letter he left us that he was so good at hiding it that no one would have known.
So he actually
He wrote that. Yeah.
And you see, the thing is, there are so many people like that. There is so many people like
Well, the
that.
statistics, I think it
Yeah.
was 16, we were discussing, weren't we, 16 suicides every day in the UK.
But just those feelings,
all
like,
ages.
that's the thing, that's where I feel the problem is just a lack of communication, because we all have down days. We all have days where we think, am I doing the right thing,
Yes.
And the more you talk to people about having those sort of thoughts, you might think, God, that's normal. But when you don't talk about it, they get worse and worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what happens is when you're in a depression, it's so much different to being in a bad mood. You can't just snap
Yes.
out
No,
of
you
it.
can't.
Yes.
When you're in a depression, you feel worthless, you feel the world would be better off without you. That's when you're in a real deep level of depression, and it's when it all gets too much.
Like a black hole
Absolutely.
that you can't feel
Yeah.
well. When people
Yeah.
come to you, Paul, do they come to you and talk to you about their problems? Do they discuss anything with you?
They do. I mean, we're a GP exercise referral site where we are, so we're linked with every single doctor's surgery the area. And mental health is one of the conditions that's referred to us with. And so I'm not saying that a lot of people come to us in a very deep set of depression. Maybe exercise at that point is only a contributing possible solution. But when people come to us and they just feel low or they feel down, at that point, then them trying to break that cycle of them thinking negatively about themselves and doing something positive, empowering themselves with exercise, putting something into their weekly calendar to say, I'm going to do exercise on these days.
So it's almost like exercise it is, which is fantastic, but it's almost like you say, the social, the putting something in the calendar, I'm going to go to do this class on this day every day. Is that what you find, Paul, when you're dealing with your customers, when they come to you?
Yes, definitely.
I mean, one of the things about charities, we'd like to encourage kids to do exercise, the ones who are depressed. And there's a lot of research that backs up the claim that exercise is very good for depression, particularly sort of group activities, where, like hill walking, where you get the chance
you get the social
to talk.
Well, listen, we've got to take a quick break now, but we'll continue this chat after the break. Back to Cuppa TV. I'm here still with Carol and John and Sheila and Paul, and we're discussing the mental health issues here in the UK. So just before we went to break, Carol, we were talking about exercise and the importance of it, and there's an incentive, isn't there, with Cameron's fund?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, we really feel that, Cameron loved DV and hill walking and ultimate frisbee, and we really feel that to help children get a sense to raise their self-esteem and achievement, that it would be a very worthwhile thing to do.
Yes, and I mean, we were touching again before the break about the sedentary lifestyle perhaps of our children. I mean, do you think that plays a part, John? What do you think? What's your thoughts about that?
I think so, because a lot of the lifestyle young people have, as we were discussing earlier, is insular. It's on their own. They're not, I'm texting you, you're texting me, but we don't talk. We don't say the bits in between. We just say hi, fine, yes, no, and it's all monosyllabic, and there's no interaction. And quite often, it's this interaction which gets you here and here. It's the warmth and empathy you have with somebody. You can't have an empathy with your mobile phone. It's just a medium for sending monosyllabic text, and quite often it's abbreviated text, which is even worse, because then you're not putting your heart and soul into what you're saying. You're just putting the highlights in. So all the nuances, which is what we all empathise with, all the nice things in life, the smiles, the warmth, the jokes, all this, the body language, is missing. So you're getting an emptiness coming through. And a lot of people can do this, and they can, at 11 o'clock at night, when they've had their shower in their pyjamas or whatever, they can be whatever they want to anybody around the world, and you don't even know.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Yes. I mean, and you've written a book, Sheila, haven't you?
I have indeed.
So tell us about that. There it is on our table.
Yeah, the book,
The Power
of Knowing You. This has been such a labour of love.
Yes.
And I just decided I wanted to make sense of where my depression came from. And the thing was, with my own story, when I was a kid, I felt my parents didn't love me. And the thing was, that was never the case. But by years of being bullied by my brothers and stuff like that, and by them not stepping in, I internalised that I was unlovable. And again, that was never the case. But what happened was, as I became an adult, I would then self-sabotage my behaviours because I just didn't feel lovable. And I really wanted to explore this subject, because so many of my clients and other people I know have had this, not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, not deserving. And a lot of it comes from what's known as conditional love. And that is like generational behaviour, stiff upper lip, we don't talk about our problems.
Yeah, we've spoken about that on the show before, this British stiff upper lip.
Yes.
Does that exist?
And that's the thing, that is part of the problem here, because we're all humans, we're emotional human beings, as well as, the achievements and all of that. So that's what I want. I wanted to show kind of the difference between conditional love and unconditional love. And when you have unconditional love, that's encouragement, growth, the autonomy to just be your own person and do what feels right for you. So the book has exercises in it to help you to find out who are you. You know, and I also did disclose about my own personal journey, and I did it for myself too as well, because I still had some unfinished business. The depression wasn't going away, and I thought, right, you know, I'll do whatever it takes. And I went back and interviewed different members of my family and my background, and I got those answers. It's the understanding makes a huge difference to breaking through depression.
Like a self-therapy, really, by
Yes.
writing the book of self-therapy.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
would you say, Carol, with setting up the charity now in Cameron's name, was that your way and Evan's way and your son's way? If you like.
Yes, it was actually my father's way of dealing with bereavement, and he suggested.
So the grandfather of Cameron.
Yes, he suggested setting up charity, but at that stage it was really just to encourage depressed children to do exercise, but as we got more into it, we actually realised that there was a huge social awareness side of it.
So it is the awareness really that the charity is going to focus on, is it making things aware?
Both really,
Yes.
but it's at the moment it's definitely the awareness side.
Now you've
of
got
it.
a poem as well, haven't you?
I do.
In your book. Would you like to read us that poem,
Yeah,
Sheila?
I can read you a bit.
Just a little bit of
yeah,
it. If it's,
okay.
yeah.
So basically, this just talk about generational behaviour, just called How Are We to Know? And it says, when we are born pure to the mercy of our world. And depending on how we are conditioned, it can be beautiful or be blurred. Regardless of how our parents grew up, we put them on a pedestal. We hang on to their every word, believing that they mean well. But what if they were suppressed by judgments, expectations and fear, then pass these on unbeknownst to them, and we become bitter throughout the year? And because we all need to be loved, we may not feel right to challenge them. Then we choose to have children, and the cycle starts all over again. But there is light, for we can change, and we don't have to keep doing the same. We can build our awareness, take responsibility for ourselves, and let go of this limiting pain. Our lives are how we want them to be. We don't have to just go with the flow. We have got choices which paths to take, and we have a right to say no. And the final verse is, surround yourself with people who unconditionally love you, environments that help you to grow, and if self-blame ever creeps in, just think, how are we to know?
Excellent.
People are just doing their best, and they do come from a place. It's not intentional bad behaviours, and it's just about awareness and communication, that if you're in an environment where you don't feel you're being respected or loved, you just say it.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
people
Yes.
mean
Yes.
well.
Yes.
They mean
Yes.
well.
Yes.
And I mean, Paul, you're going to probably be helping with the charity then to sort of look at ways to improve awareness and with exercise, of course, is what you do.
Yeah.
But do you feel that enough is being done?
I think what Carol's doing, and people like Carol, it's fantastic, because children nowadays they face certain problems in life, whereas perhaps children in 50, 100 years ago, they had their issues and things to face. At the moment, I would say that a lot of parents, they try and keep they're a little bit worried to let their kids go and play out in the fields and things like that. Also with computer games and other devices like that, it pushes kids to stay insular. So if we can encourage people and give young people the opportunity through Carol's fund, or other local opportunities, then it can all only be positive.
It's a good thing. And I mean, I spoke earlier about the councils and the government and what are they doing to help. Do you feel that they're doing enough to help?
No,
Carol?
they're not. I mean,
What could they do?
well, the GPs now, they have so many children coming in,
Really?
or youngsters, self-harming, eating disorders. They can't really cope at the moment.
Well, that's alarming, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's on the rise.
Yeah.
So, and yet we know that they're cutting back. The council's being cut back on mental health issues. So, the councils probably want to do something, but they haven't got the funds to do it.
And there are some fantastic organisations where I do my counselling from. Our Place Community Hub, they have a mentoring scheme, free mentoring for families, young people, that support. So there is organisations out there to help people.
Well, this
I
is
think
it.
it's very much the charities, isn't it? That,
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
Leading the way.
leading the way, like
Yeah.
Cyrus,
Yes.
and that are really doing more than the government.
yeah.
So they have such an
funded.
important role to
Yeah,
play, don't they,
they
really,
do.
in what's happening?
Yes.
And as you say, they're leading the way. So, I mean, thank goodness then. I mean, we've mentioned helplines. I mean, John, you're setting up a blog, is that right? You've got
Some vlogs, some little
vlogs.
videos.
Oh, vlogs. So
Yes.
that's a new, I don't know.
It's a series of interviews with young people.
Yes.
And most of them we've interviewed them in the streets in London, various areas, and we've asked them about mental health and loneliness and happiness, because they all link together.
Yes.
And it's just amazing they've just opened up, whether it's because it's in front of the camera and they feel this is it.
Oh, so they'll just tell their story
Yes,
to you?
and just, do you mind if we film it? And my colleague Chris, he's 22, so he's a young chap.
Yes.
And they just open up, and it's just amazing what they say. And I thought, right, we're going to put these on the internet, onto YouTube and video, was it Vimeo or something? And just so people can actually tune in and watch young people saying what they're going through, what they've been through.
Would you say that would help,
Well,
Carol?
Yes, it would, but I would like to say that not all depressed people are lonely. Cameron certainly wasn't, and he achieved quite a lot. You know, he was quite outgoing and always wanting to try new things. Like he went to Mexico and Belize on World Challenge and did some quite challenging things. But he had a very good social.
But it's a lonely world up here.
Yes, it's a lonely world in your head.
You know, you can be with millions of people and still feel lonely.
Yeah.
Because it's the isolation of the mental process. You know, what you do, you think to yourself. You don't think with anybody else. You don't allow anybody else into your world. You don't allow anybody to come near your world. And this is what we've been getting back from them, that everybody is just thinking, you know, like Cameron, who was, singing, dancing, the all wonderful, marvellous person.
Well, I wouldn't say all that.
Well, no. But you know,
That's
to the world. But to himself, he's living in his little world, and
he was absolutely.
It's talking about the deep rooted stuff.
Yes.
That's the difference. That is the difference. If more people come out and they talk about the fears, their anxieties, and show that we're all human, what a difference that makes.
I think if anything we've discussed today, and we could go on and discuss, and it's been absolutely fantastic to have you all here. But it's to talk about it. Would you say that?
The most important thing is to talk about it and get help.
Which is what
and children as young as 12, 13, they must, it's very, very important to get help.
We'd love to hear from you, so please do get in touch, either by email or you can join us on Facebook or Twitter at Big Centre TV. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.